Hey everybody, it's Goro here, coming to you from my home state of Maine, where we just got our first frost this morning, which is why I'm bundled up. It's not quite hunting season yet, but we're close enough where thought I'd get some high vis on. So I'm making this video today in conjunction with a community post and the comments, some of the comments under my last video with questions about Nepal and specifically about trekking. So I have your questions here and we'll just get right into it. Before we start, I will say that all of the information that I gave in my last video, to my knowledge, is still correct. It's still up to date, but I'll give some more pointed answers in this video to certain questions. So the first question, what is the average rate for a guide if you were to choose to use a guide? So to my knowledge, I think it's going to be about $30 to $60 a day. You will be paying more if you're using a porter service as well as a guide. Sometimes they're two in one. But I would be expecting, especially in the climate now, to be paying between $30 and $60 a day for your guide, depending on especially where you'll be trekking. Second question, for the Everest region, do I need to get my TIMs and permits in Kathmandu, or can I get them on the way to Everest? So you can do both. You can get your permits and TIM's card in Kathmandu, or you can get them at the checkpoint after Lukla. So between Lukla and Namche Bazaar, there is a checkpoint where you can buy your TIM's card and any necessary permits needed to get into the Everest region. You're not actually buying TIM's, you're buying the equivalent of TIM's just for the Everest region. Everest has their own special TIM's type card, but regardless, you buy these things either in Kathmandu at the tourist center, the tourism board in Kathmandu, or you can buy them at the national park gate between Lukla and Namche Bazaar. Okay, third question. Does the Jiri to Lukla trek require a guide? The short answer is technically, legally, yes. Because the typical trail from Jiri to Lukla will take you through the Gauri Shankar Reserve, which you need a guide for. Now, the way to bypass this and trek to Lukla instead of taking a flight is to go to Phaphlu. You can hire a jeep that will take you to Phaphlu or any of the towns in the valley of this region, and then you can trek up to right around Lukla. The trail will spit you out just a little bit past Lukla, actually. But it is possible to trek to the Everest region without taking a plane and without needing a guide legally. Can I fly drones while trekking in Nepal? So, once again, to the best of my knowledge, you cannot fly drones in Nepal. Next question. Does the number of trekkers you have affect whether or not you need a guide? No. If you're trekking, legally speaking, according to the new rules, if you're trekking in any of the conservation areas, you need a guide. There's no way around that. Group size does not matter. You need a guide. Is this being enforced? So, I can only go by comments on my video and things that I've seen online, but no, I don't believe that this new rule is being enforced very well. That doesn't make it legal to go without a guide, but it's not being enforced, as far as I can tell. And the best resource that I've found for this is on Tripadvisor. There's a thread, which I will link below, that people who are going and doing treks, guideless treks, by themselves are reporting on the checkpoints or lack of checkpoints on the treks that they are going on. So if you're curious about a certain trek, whether or not a guide is being enforced on that trek, check out this forum and maybe even ask if somebody has recently been on this trek. Some of the treks listed: Annapurna, Lamtang. Okay, next question. Is it possible to do Mera Peak guideless? This is a tough one. So I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, Mera Peak you are allowed to do without a guide. Whether or not you should do Mera Peak without a guide is a different story. Summiting peaks in Nepal is much different from trekking. And as somebody who has never summited a peak, especially one above 6,000 meters, I don't know if I am qualified to give good advice on this. Outside of the fact that if I was going to do Mera Peak, I would probably hire a guide. Just because, especially because I've never summited a peak before, and it's sort of a whole different beast than trekking. Now, I know Mera Peak is a little bit different. It's a little more casual friendly, if you will, to people who have never summited peaks before. That's what I've heard about Mera Peak. That being said, I would still recommend somebody using a guide if they were to do Mera Peak, or really any of the summitable peaks in the region. One more thing I'd like to mention just before signing off here is that in doing a little bit of cursory research for the things I didn't know or weren't aware of for some of these questions, it is almost impossible to find good information online that does not come from trekking agencies. So, for example, if you look up, do I need a guide to trek in Nepal? One of the first entries on Google that comes up is a trekking company that says, yes, you do legally need a guide to trek anywhere in Nepal, not even mentioning the fact that you don't need a guide for the Everest region. So I would just encourage people to be careful when Googling stuff online, because there are results popping up that are not true. And it might require you to dig a little bit deeper and be wary of getting results from companies that are obviously trying to sell you something in the Google search results. It's the most obvious advice ever, but I feel like it needed to be said because in searching, trying to do research, all you get are trekking companies right now. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you for your questions. I'm trying to get the Okinawa video out. As I said in the community post, we are unfortunately not going to be able to make it to Nepal this year, even though we really wanted to. We wanted to do that Everest trek. We just couldn't swing it. So, to those of you going, have a great time. Report back. Let us know what's happening in the area. We're all very curious to hear from those on the ground. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. See ya. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions about trekking in Nepal or Nepal in general, please leave a comment. I'll try to answer it as best I can. And also leave a like. And if you really like these videos, please consider subscribing. Okay, I'll see you later.